Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can, and this time I'll be playing The Sinking City, Blind. I am a big fan of Lovecraft stories, and I am a big fan of games based on Lovecraft stories of the Cthulhu mythos, even though I do recognize that Lovecraftian as a description mostly doesn't really mean anything. It's more like people treat, an awful lot of people treat Lovecraftian more as an aesthetic than they do as a theme. Like, people think that a game is Lovecraftian if it has like tentacle monsters in it or whatever, rather than it dealing with some themes of of man's insignificance in the face of the wider universe, or with the man's with humanity's fear of the unknown and the other. Although if anything is to be told by this game, by this game's sort of annotation description in the beginning, then at the very least there is going to be racism in this game. Which is unfortunately a big staple of Lovecraft stories themselves. Lovecraft was pretty racist even back, in his day, and many of his stories, they actually, like, the central sort of plot element of them was the fear of other ethnicities. Like, to Lovecraft, it was an actual horror story to imagine, for example, New York overrun by immigrants. Like, it was on par with the aforementioned monsters with tentacles. Monsters with tentacles, people from China, pretty much the same thing, for Lovecraft at least. So I don't know much about this game, but I've heard it's supposedly pretty good. It is a detective game, and it has some pretty good detective mechanics, from what I've heard. It's also pretty tedious, supposedly, and a rather junky experience in terms of actual combat gameplay, but I don't care about that much, and in fact, most of my favorite games are pretty junky in the gameplay department, so there's a lot I'm willing to forgive to a game that draws me in with its atmosphere. So yeah, without further ado, I have played quite a few Lovecraftian quote-unquote games already on the channel. I'm going to put links to the playlists in the description in case you want to check them out. And for now, let me start a new game. It says continue because I was checking out audio options in the prologue. Autosave's already overwritten, I'm okay with that. Dear Mr. Charles Reed, as you requested, I've researched the outbursts of hysteria and visions in the city of Oakmont, Massachusetts. It turns out that your assumptions were correct. Such cases are indeed more frequent here. Men and women from across the country are drawn to Oakmont, haunted by visions similar to yours, a city drowning, the presence of something great yet unknown. As luck has it, I believe we have stumbled upon the source of your ailment, and the person who might help you. Prepare yourself, then come to Oakmont as soon as you can. I will meet you here to help you on your way. Cordially, Johannes van der Berg. Okay, so my name is Reed, and in fact, I'm pretty sure the protagonist of the Call of Cthulhu game was also named Reed? Or am I tripping? Like, I know I heard that specific surname in one of the games I played already. But let's continue. Okay, so it seems I'm a soldier with PTSD and panic attacks, which is already a bit of a bit of a Lovecraftian cliche, as it were. You know, the protagonist of Call of Cthulhu, the game, was also a veteran soldier with panic attacks and nightmares. So, you know, there is that. Let's have a look around. First aid. I can scrounge gunpowder, coil springs. So I guess those are like crafting materials. The Eye of Providence, blah blah blah. I don't really know what this flag depicts. There's also, I think that's the coat of arms of Massachusetts. Like the seal or whatever you call it. You know, the heraldic symbol of the state of Massachusetts. There's some writing on it, but it's difficult to get a good look at it. Libertate. Yeah, I can't. Unfortunately, I can't read that. Like I suppose that's like a motto. It's in Latin, but it's difficult for me to even read that. So I won't exactly know what it says. I have some pin-up posters, I guess. A camera. A letter from J. van der Berg. Okay, this is the letter I've read already in the on the loading screen, so I'm not going to read it again. It's verbatim the same.
I never have to use it, but something tells me I will.
Oakmont Monolith National Park is waiting for you.
Never trust a tourist advertisement.
Gromr, the noble troglodyte. I guess that's like a comic or whatever. Curse of the Were-Jaguar. Oakmont Line. Shipping company. Okay, I think I've gathered everything. Oh, one more thing before I start the game. I am playing on hard difficulty, both in combat and in investigation. As it says here, you will receive no hints at what to do in your investigation, no prompts to visit the Mind Palace or casebook, and you won't be notified when you've collected all key evidence, and monsters have more health and your character has lower resistance to insanity. So overall, I suppose especially the part about the investigation might be challenging, but that's the part I'm mostly counting on. That's why I want the game to utilize the full potential of that part. That's why I set the difficulty to hard.
Now get out!
Okay, welcome to Oakmont, a town on the rise. Yeah, sure. Sure, definitely looks like it.
At last, Mr. Charles Reed. What a pleasure to finally meet you in the flesh.
Nice to meet you.
Johannes van der Berg, at your service. I did promise to meet you the moment you arrived.
Ah, much obliged, Mr. van der Berg. I guess I didn't expect you to mean so literally.
Please call me Johannes. But where are my manners? Welcome to the proud city of Oakmont. Alas, now is not its finest hour, though it is its most important.
Nice suit.
Reaching Oakmont is no easy task. Most maps I've found didn't mark it, and this rickety packet ship is the only one that sailed here. Why is that?
Oakmont is no ordinary place. Its unique geographical position and the flood, a recent natural disaster, make it nigh impossible to reach. But you made it, Mr. Reed. I'm sure the tides of fate would have brought you here one way or another.
Tell me about this flood.
It began 6 months ago. Storms raged for several weeks. and the water has risen ever higher without receding. Now the city is cut off from the mainland. I must say I rather like it, despite the inconvenience. Atmosphere, you know?
That's an eye-catching suit.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. A mere flood is no excuse for one to abandon one's style.
I take it you're a big fan of yellow.
Well, I have a particular weakness for it. Call it a personal quirk.
I think that's significant, because, like, I'm not very up to date on my Cthulhu mythos, and I have not read all of Lovecraft's stories. I have only read the most popular ones. But wasn't there a story called A King in Yellow that had to do something with the like with the elder god? Maybe plural. Like, because in the Cthulhu mythos, the different there are factions of those supernatural creatures. There are different groups, and even though all of those creatures disregard humanity as something rather unimportant and insignificant compared to their greatness, they can actually be antagonistic towards each other. And the Elder Gods, specifically, they are the enemies of the Great Old Ones, of which the most famous one is Cthulhu. So, for example, you can use the Elder Sign to repel servants of the Great Old Ones. So, I think, like, I vaguely remember that the color yellow might have something to do with the Elder Gods. I'll have to keep that in mind.
You said you know someone who can help me with my problem. The visions have been getting worse.
Such vividness of dreams is not uncommon here in Oakmont. By chance, the man I spoke of, Robert Throgmorton, is already at the port. He has dedicated a lot of time and effort to investigate this issue. Alas, I fear he has a more pressing matter on his hands.
How can I find Mr. Throgmorton?
Don't worry, you can't miss him. Throgmorton tends to stand out from the crowd.
Can you tell me a little about Mr. Throgmorton?
A remarkable creature, scion of a robust bloodline, a philanthropist, a scholar, and the patron of the famous Oakmont University. A man of great ambitions and even greater ego. Do not make him wait.
Okay, I find it disturbing how he referred to another human being as a remarkable creature. So I take it from that Throgmorton is probably not white. Like, I sensed, you know, a very direct undertone of racist in that description, because he said it in a way that implies he doesn't consider Throgmorton to be fully human. Like, why would you call another person a creature? A creature is, you know, it seems to me it is a word reserved for things that are not really human.
I'll need a place to lay my head while I'm here. Any recommendations?
Fear not. I've already feathered a nest for you. There's a room in your name at the Devil's Reef Hotel. Here's the key.
Sounds charming.
Don't judge a book by its cover, Mr. Reed.
How do you fill your days, Mr. Vanderberg?
I host a philosophy club for the like-minded intelligentsia, gathering seeds of thought like moths drawn to a flame.
Does Oakmont really have much of a market for philosophy these days?
There is no consciousness without pain, Mr. Reed. No better moment for clarity than times of hardship.
What's the best way to get around Oakmont? I'd like to drop my things at the hotel.
Most locals go by foot, or by boat. I've got the latter sorted for you. There's one waiting outside the port.
be too kind, Johannes. Can you steer me towards the Devil's Reef?
Take this map. I've marked the hotel and a few other key places.
Other places? Like what?
You're a private eye, yes? Well, I've highlighted the police station, city archive, newspaper. Places you'll need to get to the truth. This city is insular. Its ways mysterious. No one will take you by the hand, so you better know where to turn in search of a lead.
Well, that's it for now, I think. Thanks for helping me get my bearings.
No. The pleasure was mine, Mr. Reed.
Oh, before you go, how can I get in touch with you later?
Don't worry about that. I'm the kind of man who finds you. We'll meet again, Mr. Reed.
Okay, map. I'll view that a little bit later. For now, I suppose I should look for that Throgmorton guy. He said he should be easy to notice, and again, I assume he's not white from the way Van der Berg referred to him. Ape's Bride. Okay, there's a guy worshipping the sea, which is obviously not suspicious at all, given the setting.
The end is nigh. It will begin again. What is down comes up. The seed is sown. The end is nigh. It will begin again. What is down comes up. The seed is sown.
Under the keel bar and the exit. The exit from what? Not entirely sure. There's some police line, do not cross. Oh, was there a crime committed somewhere over here?
Can't catch a mackerel since those Innsmouthers took over the fishing business.
You like it here, newcomer? Well, get used to it. No one leaves Oakmont nowadays.
So I guess there are people from Innsmouth in here, which obviously Innsmouth is one of the most famous towns in the Lovecraft mythos, and the Innsmouthers interbreed with the deep ones, so they are like kind of fish people, and it is sort of symptomatic of Lovecraft stories, because that's again a link to his racism. One of his like greatest fears was miscegenation. Like, he considered the mixing of the races to be like abhorrent. So a lot of his stories are about people intermixing with beasts, where to him, I imagine, it wasn't really, unfortunately, that much of a difference if it was a white person intermixing with a black person. Like, that was basically analogous to him, and I'm unfortunately pretty certain that those stories, for example, the people of Innsmouth and them interbreeding with the deep ones, they are actually a very thin-veiled allegory for race mixing. So Lovecraft, like, I like his stories, but and to be honest, like, from a modern perspective, I consider his racism to be so over the top that it's actually kind of funny to me, because you have to be deranged to exhibit this level of like uncomfortableness at the mere thought of people being different. Like, as I said, unironically, to Lovecraft, a horrible vision of the future was just New York full of immigrants that didn't speak English. Like, that was on par with like a demonic invasion to him. So that's just hilarious to me from a modern perspective. Oh, there's something in here.
Something with this helmet. Gives me chills. What's wrong with it?
I think it drained my sanity a little bit. I assume the blue bar near the health bar is my sanity meter. Albert Throgmorton's will. I hope someone finds this. My name is Albert Throgmorton and this is my will. I want to warn you, do not go to the depths below Oakmont. There is unreadable. We should have never done that. Everything should have remained in the cave. Professor Unreadable, I fear what will become of me. I'm singing in my brain, dancing on my eyelids every time I close my eyes. Unreadable. The cycle goes on and on and on and on and on. Unreadable, in the end it comes. I must warn everyone. I must tell my father, Unreadable, he's here. Okay. So, I guess Albert Throgmorton is dead? At least that's what it implies. I'm pretty sure his father will not be happy to hear that. But first I need to find his father, which I wasn't given concrete directions. Like, they just said he's somewhere around in the port. What's that creature? What animal is that? Not entirely sure. Oh. Was that person always here? She kind of appeared out of nowhere. And to be honest, I have no idea whatsoever where I'm actually going. I'm just going around. Okay, this is a gathering.
I don't care about your petty excuses. No one leaves the port until my son is found, and that is final.
Excuse me. Are you Robert Throgmorton?
I am, but not interested. Go away.
The name's Charles Reed. I'm a private investigator, just arrived from Boston. I was told you might be able to help me.
Private investigator, you say? Well, perhaps we can help each other.
Okay, so that is what Van der Berg was referring to when he called Robert a creature, because very obviously there's like something weird about him, and I happen to almost certainly know what that is, because I think he's an ape man. Like, he mentioned, Van der Berg mentioned, an ancient, robust bloodline, and another one of famous Lovecraft stories is like, what is it called? The tale of the late Arthur German, or like the case of, or whatever, basically it was this story about a guy who found out that his family line was descended from this unholy union between man and like sentient apes, which is another, like, basically that is even that is even more racist, more sort of overtly racist, because obviously one of the very famous racist insults towards specifically black people is to compare them to apes. So in this story, you have this bloodline that has intermixed with sentient apes, producing human-ape hybrids, and specifically those apes in that story were like a royal family of apes from the deepest Africa. So I'm pretty sure that's what Robert Throgmorton is supposed to be. Because he doesn't look entirely human. Like the way he looks very human, but I mean, the way his face is structured, and obviously he has those huge, like, sideburns. The shape of his face is also a little bit weird. So I'm pretty sure that's what's going on here. Not that it makes not that it makes what's the word, Johannes van der Berg like more right in describing him as a creature, because he seems, to be honest, he seems more sophisticated than the other people around in this scene. So, once we enter true sentience into the equation, I don't really care if he's like half sentient ape or if the Innsmouthers are half sentient fish or whatever. Those are all people to me. It's like, technically you could view them as aliens, but if aliens were to visit Earth, I still think they should be, if they exhibited the same level of intelligence and sentience as we do, I don't think there's a functional difference in how we should treat them and with the level of dignity we should assign to them. So I'm perfectly willing to deal with this guy who's like half man, half sentient ape from Africa or whatever. Your features are unusual. That's pretty rude to say to a person you've just met. So what happened to your son? I'm pretty sure he's dead, judging from the fact I found his will. People usually don't write a will if they do not expect to end up dead soon-ish. Like, I guess people do when they are growing old, but obviously Robert Throgmorton himself does not seem that old, so his son must be even younger.
If I may ask, what happened to your son?
Why do you care? What's your angle, outsider?
Well, like I said, I'm a PI. Finding people is kind of my specialty.
Is it? Well, Albert was part of a deep-sea expedition I commissioned. This useless fool over here says he found Albert washed ashore in a lifeboat. Says he was barely conscious, out of his mind, talking gibberish in some other language. But he even tried to bite him.
And you don't believe him?
Complete malarkey. I know my Albert. I raised him strong and smart, the best of his kind. It couldn't have been him. Albert's disappearance is the work of Innsmouthers, mark my words.
I take it you're not the biggest fan of these Innsmouthers.
Those fish-faced freaks have overrun this city since the police burned Innsmouth to the ground. But now, those filthy migrants occupy half this damned city. The port, Grimhaven Bay, Salvation Harbor, the shells, they are everywhere.
So they're just refugees?
Hardly. They've taken work from the local fishermen. They stir and agitate against us, the Throgmorton family. We are the pillar of this community, not to mention that crime rates have skyrocketed. Simply speaking, they are a big stinking pile of trouble.
Okay, so it seems Throgmorton himself is actually quite racist towards the Innsmouthers, which is ironic considering, he's insulting the way they look, which is ironic if you look as he does. Like, people could do that right back to him. And probably do. Like, as I said, the way Johannes referred to him seems to imply he doesn't consider him fully human, which, that's interesting because technically speaking, I guess, if he really is a hybrid with another species, he technically isn't fully human, but that's, besides the point to me. As I said, even if he was an alien, I think he shouldn't necessarily be singled out and referred to as a creature. Like, that's just rude. He clearly has human level mental capacity, and generally looks, almost human. That's partially kind of rude of me to even say. He looks very human, just a little bit weird. Like, I wouldn't... It's not a presumption I would make ordinarily about, you know, someone has a little bit of a weird face. I wouldn't go, oh, he must be a half-human hybrid with an ape or whatever. I specifically went for it just because I know it's an actual plot point in some of Lovecraft's stories. I wouldn't have come up with it sort of on my own on the spot.
I've heard you're the man to speak to about visions, outbreaks of hysteria. I'm trying to get to the bottom of it myself.
Another newcomer with another problem. Yes, I know what you speak of.
Can I ask you a few questions?
How dare you? My son Albert is missing, and no one in this Innsmouth-ridden city will do a damn thing. But yes, let's talk about your dreams.
Mr. Throgmorton, let me help you. I'm rather good at tracking down missing people. I'll find Albert.
What makes you think you can do it? Oakmont is not exactly friendly to new arrivals.
Let's just say I tend to see things that others miss. And anyway, what have you got to lose? Sounds like you could use every man you can get.
Vera. You have a point, newcomer.
Sorry, did you just say Vera? What does that mean?
You had better get used to the Oakmont dialect, outsider. That is, if you want to fit in. It is a fascinating blend. Vera means fine. I was saying, we have a deal.
I see. Thank you. I need to know more about what happened to Albert.
Dane, did you not listen at all? I already told you everything. After leaving on the expedition, Albert was found on the shore in a lifeboat. This fisherman supposedly brought him to the house, and then left to call me. But when I arrived here, my son was nowhere to be seen.
Anything else?
Clearly, something suspicious occurred inside the house. I suggest you stop dawdling and go see for yourself.
You mentioned a lifeboat. Is it still around?
Yes. Face the house, then to the left is a beach that borders a fence. You'll find it there.
Where's the house where this all happened?
For Kay's sake, I thought you were a private eye. We're standing right in front of it.
As much as I'm enjoying the weather, Mr. Throgmorton, it's time for me to get started.
Find my son, newcomer, and be quick about it.
Wait, but wouldn't you be interested in his supposed will? Yeah.
Mr. Throgmorton, I found this in the lifeboat. Looks like it's your son's will.
Give it to me. Oh, my boy, what did you get yourself into? If only I hadn't sent you on that cursed expedition.
Bye.
Don't do anything stupid, newcomer. And keep your hands where I can see them.
I've said everything I know.
Okay, so I can't question him further myself. And I suppose this is the house? I have to toggle the flashlight. And does that mean anything?
Huh. This dog mat looks better than the owner's bed.
Indeed, it kind of does. Oh, okay, I can steal their crafting supplies. Again, this symbol, but with a different, like, it's like number 4, I guess? Whereas on the door it was number 3. Or alternatively you could read that as 2, and this as 3. It has to mean something, right?
book is damp and damaged, but clearly well cared for. The book is damp and damaged, but clearly well cared for.
But what book is that? Like, you'd think that would be pertinent to the case, and he would check that. Okay, some gutted fish. More fish.
It would take tremendous effort to move this thing, let alone tossing it over like this.
Let's see what you find, newcomer.
There was a fierce fight here, but someone tried to flee.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that the footprints lead over here, so maybe I can climb this scaffolding later on. But first, let's explore the house in its entirety. Pain cure, railway magazine, 2 trains daily. Okay, so somebody was a fan of trains, I guess. Railway magazine.
Choo choo.
Yeah. So toy trains as well, and tracks.
Choo choo.
A lot of old newspapers, seemingly. Oakmont Chronicle.
I can barely recognize the face of the poor fella. He was beaten to a pulp.
What? How do I fight it? Like, I have a gun. I'm just not quite sure how to equip it. And to be honest, I'm weirded out by the fact
Let's see what you find, newcomer.
that the cop didn't really react. I guess there's a fisherman or someone right here.
Hello? Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, my head. What? Who are you? Are you police? I already told them everything.
It's okay. I'm Charles Reed, Private Eye. Mr. Throgmorton hired me to find his son.
Oh, okay. What do you want?
I want to know what happened here. Every detail.
I don't remember much. Me, Paul, and Lewis, we were here. This is our house. Barry was outside on his business. Then he came back carrying Throgmorton's son. He was unconscious, barely breathing. Barry left again to call Mr. Robert.
Then what?
We put the guy in Lewis's room. Then he started to make these horrible sounds and... okay, my head began to burst. And he woke up. And after that, I don't remember a thing, just dreams. Drowned streets, a sleeping giant, a voice that called me.
That sounds familiar. Tell me about yourself.
Name's Will Hammond. I'm a fisherman. We all are. Live here together. Me, poor fella Paul, Barry, and Innsmouthers Lewis Flynn. We moved here after the flood. I worked on the railroad, but the rail ain't kicking anymore, so I started fishing. It was at or starve.
Where are all the other guys?
That's Paul there on the floor. Kay be with him. Barry's outside with Mr. Throgmorton. Lucky rascal missed everything. And I have no idea where Lewis or Throgmorton's son got to. Starting to suspect the worst.
Who is this K you keep mentioning?
Outsiders, show some respect. K is our lord, our light, our love.
Sorry, I didn't know.
So is it like a local god? Or whatever? Which you know, would be pretty noteworthy, because it's what? Like, certainly it's the 20th century America, right? So most people would follow some kind of an established religion, mostly Christianity, some denomination of. Whereas those guys, I assume from that they are pagans of some sort. But he didn't really tell me anything about what that K figure really represents or means, or where does it come from.
Do you know how Paul died?
I don't know. When I pulled myself together, he was already gone. K, have mercy on his soul.
I'll leave you to it. Take care of yourself, Will.
Please, Detective, sir, tell me the truth. Could it be me? Did I kill Paul? Or, Kay, did I kill him?
I don't know yet, Will. The police will stop anyone coming in or out of here, so I suggest you just try and get some rest.
I'm afraid of what I might dream.
New Mind Palace clue. Will Hammond's testimony. Okay, I don't know what happened with the monster, and if it returns, I'm not really sure how to stop it, because I don't know how to equip my gun. Okay, Q is some kind of a weird detective vision, I assume. I'm trying different keys, like I should check the key bindings, but I was expecting the game to maybe tell me.
5 cards short of a full house.
I'll gather more clues before I try to figure out what the Mind Palace is supposed to be about. Okay, so this goes down back here where I already was.
I'm surprised they don't have someone's portrait here.
Mind's Eye, Q, press to activate. Okay. Some kind of a locket. Gromr. And the servants of the spider god. The modern Samson. The curse of the word jaguar.
Never seen knives like this before. Masterful work.
That looks like a ritual knife of some sorts. Like it has a fish scale pattern on the hand and those eyes.
Seems like Prohibition hasn't affected Oakmont too much.
Okay, so it's like the 20s, I imagine. Judging from the fact that the Prohibition is going on.
So that's what an Innsmouther looks like.
He looks pretty okay for an Innsmouther. Like, actually, Innsmouthers in Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth were much more monstrous than that. He actually, at least on this photo, which doesn't have that great of fidelity, he just looks like his face is like swollen or something. He looks okay. Okay, so the game is urging me to use that mind vision, but I will do that next time, because this first episode has been long enough, so I'm going to end it here. I'm going to save and end it for now. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.